Hi everybody, I wanted to do a quick video about the new game coming out from Dean Hall, the creative, sometimes people would say genius behind DayZ. His new game called Icarus, which is coming out on PC on the 12th of August 2021. Not sure console release dates, haven't seen anything like that. But I just wanted to talk about this game because it's very interesting and mainly because it's very different to DayZ, and I think lots of people who know the name Dean Hall are probably very excited at the idea of him bringing out another game, because we kind of know that DayZ had a little bit of a, well, still has a tortured development process. Dean left, but his initial idea of what DayZ was, being a hardcore survival game set in, well, the infected apocalypse, was a really brilliant idea, and it was very well implemented as well, despite all the stuff that was wrong with it. And the fact that he's now had all this time to mull over the mistakes that were made with DayZ and create a game that will be wrapped more around his vision is very interesting indeed. Because remember, DayZ was a mod for Arma 2, so it was building off an existing game, where this is his own vision from scratch. So how much does it cost? What do you need to buy? What it's all about? So I think the first thing we probably need to address is the cost, because this might be a little bit confusing. So when you go over to Steam, you can pre-purchase Icarus for £21.41p, and then there's the Deluxe Edition, which is £71, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute. That's a bit of a price difference. Another 50 quid for the Deluxe Edition. That seems a bit expensive. Now, the reason for that, and they don't make this completely clear, I don't think, is the fact that Icarus will be released in stages, and what they call cohorts, which are going to be different biomes. So, in effect, different maps. So, as a new map comes out, there's going to be a new cohort, which is going to cost you more money if you just buy the first cohort edition. Because if we go down here and we have a look at the pre-order, you've got the standard edition, which just includes Icarus and the first cohort, and then the deluxe edition, which includes the next two DLC chapters and the original one. Now the question is, though, is that if Icarus is £20 just for the first cohort, presumably these next DLCs are going to be £20 as well. So that adds up to about 60 quid. So you've got to ask yourself, is it worth having the two outpost levels, where apparently I think it's something to do with you can kind of play around with the base, and the exclusive environment suit, or maybe you're so enthralled with the idea of Dean Hall having a game that you want to support him, that you want to pay that extra money. I would be tempted to say, let's just get the standard edition and see how it goes. So, what is Icarus? What is Icarus? Well, there's been plenty of YouTube videos out there and interviews with Dean where he's explaining what it's all about. And basically, this is a PvE session-based survival game for up to 8 co-op players or solo. So what does that mean? So the story behind Icarus is the fact that there's been this terraforming experiment on this planet that's gone wrong. So instead of creating an Earth, they've created something where the first biome we come across, that we're going to see for the first time in August, looks a bit like Earth, but it's the atmosphere is poisonous to humans. But there's these exotic materials that have made the terraforming go wrong. So instead of being able to colonize Earth, we can't go there. But these prospectors can go there on a spaceship, and they stay on this satellite, and they can have these drop ships that go down onto the surface of the planet Icarus, and then wander around looking, prospecting, mining, if you like, for these exotic materials, which they can then take back up to the space station and buy upgrades and better equipment and follow different tech trees, so that when they go back down to the planet again, they can then be more efficient in their prospecting to get more stuff. And the idea is that when you take a drop ship down from the satellite to the planet, you'll have a set amount of time for that particular session, that particular mission, and you must get back on your dropship before that timer is over. Otherwise, you get left behind. And if your character gets left behind, they're saying that's it, you're dead. So that character's dead, or your bits are gone. You know, you're going to have to start again from scratch. A bit like in DayZ, where if you die, you know, that's it. You've got to come back with a new character. And the length of these sessions, length of these missions could be anything from a couple of hours to a few days. And some of them have got to be quite long, because you're encouraged by all the videos we've seen in the game to build buildings and crafting tables and that sort of stuff. I think the big stumbling block for Icarus that we're simply gonna just have to see when we play the game is whether the concept of space-faring human beings who have the technology to fly to another planet and land on that planet, if people with that level of technology still have to use stone axes to make wooden buildings and carry around torches made out of sticks and rags, whether that breaks immersion or not. Now, the way that they're going to explain this is that these prospectors who go to Icarus and fly down onto the planet and, you know, risk their lives doing this stuff, the way they're explaining that is that this is the last of your money. You know, you've spent all your money on this trip to get to Icarus. You've got nothing left. Basically, all you've been able to afford is the spacesuit that you've got and the cost of the dropship to take you down. You've got nothing else, you know, when you're starting off. So, you know, you're brassy, you're skint, and that's why you haven't got some sort of laser cutter with you. That's why you haven't got, you know, power tools with you to do all this stuff. That's why you've got to crash them. So it's whether that makes sense, because we can probably all agree that DayZ kind of does make sense, and a lot of it is very immersive. That's why we like it so much. Yeah, you could say, well, actually, there has been an apocalypse. Most people have been infected. I've washed up on the beach in a country I don't know, and now I've got to find food and stay alive. That kind of makes sense. But what to me initially, and I'm keeping an open mind on this, what kind of doesn't make sense is if I'm wearing a spacesuit, that I'm going to be building a wooden lodge, you know. So there we go. So that's my kind of hurdle that I want to go up. Will I buy Icarus and give it a go? Of course I will. Of course I will, because it looks fascinating. Now, the next thing is, of course, that this is PvE. You know, it's us versus the planet. This isn't, by anything we've been told by Dean Hall at all, PvP focused at all. We haven't seen any weapons beyond bows and arrows at the moment. So there is going to be no getting to the planet and then going to somewhere the equivalent of Northwest Airfield and then fighting off other prospectors, you know, to take their stuff and then escaping. As you can see with the description we just gave, it's for solos or up to 10 players. So that's not many players on an instance anyway. And they haven't mentioned whether these players, you know, you've got to maybe be friends, or, you know, whether the instance is on your local PC, you know, or whether it's going to be on a server somewhere that you've got to join. I think it's going to be on your local PC, and you do it that way. So this is really going to be for those people who enjoy DayZ, for the player versus environment side of things, for the survival side of things, not for the shooty bang bang armor style. Well, DayZ style has its own DayZ style, doesn't it? Player versus player stuff, and I think that's probably going to be the biggest shock to people who play DayZ, because, you know, I'm a PvE sort of player, but I do enjoy the threat of the danger of when I'm on public servers and on PvP servers, private servers, of being shot, you know, of seeing another player and thinking, oh my god, is he going to try and kill me? That isn't what Icarus is all about. Icarus is not about that. And Dean, in all the videos that I've seen about the game and the gameplay, you know, they're really saying, you know, this is about PvE, it's about surviving. They mention games like Valheim. He keeps mentioning Valheim, the Viking PvE game, you know, about building structures and crafting things, and finding stuff. Even in this picture here, where you've got an astronaut carrying a deer, you know, with your dropship in the background. So, you know, if you've got the technology to get to a planet, you know, would you really need to be killing the local fauna and flora? Which, to be honest, if you can't breathe the air, the fauna and flora is probably poisonous to you anyway. You know, the little microbes and everything inside it. If you were to eat that meat, it would probably kill you, or you would kill everything in the biome itself. But anyway, I've got to put that to one side. And then if we scroll down a little bit more on their website, you can see. We go all the way to the bottom. Here we go. Here's the chapter. So that's the first bit we're going to get in August. The first cohort where we're in the biomes that are similar to Earth. So we've got a forest biome, we've got an Arctic biome, and then when New Frontier comes out, we don't know when. We've got some sort of almost like a sandworm type monster here, and then Dangerous Horizons. And as we can see, this is where it starts to get interesting. Where in the first cohort, you know, that's a space suit, isn't it? We can kind of recognise that sort of space suit, and the guy's got a improvised spear. The second one looks a bit more fancy. Still got a bow, but then in the third one, Dangerous Horizons, this guy, that is not a space suit that we would recognise. That's more like something out of Destiny, and that definitely looks like an assault rifle. And he's got some sort of, well, I don't know what that is on his back. And then we've got this big spider alien type monster, which kind of indicates that the planet Icarus, maybe that, you know, the first bit of the terraforming kind of was a little bit like Earth, and then the further we get from that bit, you know, it starts to get more alien-like as well. And then we've got these, or maybe there are aliens have developed on Icarus that way. So hopefully that helps to crystallize in your mind what Icarus is going to be about. It's going to be an adventure survival PvE game. It's not going to be like DayZ in terms of a PvP game, or at least not to start off with, because let's not forget that when Icarus was first announced, Dean Hall and the team said, you know, this would be a free-to-play game. They wanted everybody to be playing Icarus, and they had to change to a pay game because they didn't want to bring in a free-to-play mechanic. So who's to say what the game may well change? Because the beauty of having a small development team is that, you know, the game can pivot, the game can change into something else. Am I excited for it? Yes, I am, but there is a little bit of trepidation about what the game will be, because although I do enjoy PvE in DayZ and stuff, having played like games like Green Hell, which are really PvE survival, they can get a little bit monotonous that way as well. So it's all about that balance of gameplay, I guess, which is true of all games, isn't it? You get good and bad games, and it's not really about the style of the game, whether it's a shooter or a survival game. It's about the balance within that genre itself. So there we go. What do you think? Are you looking forward to Icarus? Maybe you've pre-ordered it already. If you've got anything to say, please put it in the comment section below the video. If you've enjoyed this video, hit like. If you want to see more of the same, press subscribe, and I will of course see you again soon.